histogram. So under this, we are going to use assumed mean method to solve this type of problem. So let's have a look at the question, then we will dive into the solution. From the question, we are given details of a patient in a hospital, right, relating to their ages. So people within the ages of 0 to 4 is only one person, right? So from 5 to 9 years, they are 3, and then 10 to 14 years, they are 4, and then 15 to 19, they are 6, and then 20 to 24, they are 13, and so on and so forth, right? So this is the information that we are given. That's the only information that we are given, and then you have been asked to draw a histogram for the distribution. Okay, now you need only 2 tools to draw a histogram for this type of distribution. So one is the frequencies, exactly what we are having here, and then the second one is what? The class boundaries, right? So this is the class boundary. And then how do you find the class boundary? For you to determine the class boundary, first thing you have to check the number here. What is the number here? Is 4, and then what is the number in the next range? That is what? 5. So the last number in one range here, so which is the last one, in this case it is 4, and then the first number in the immediate next one, that is 5. You find the difference between the two, so that is what? 5 minus 4, that will give me what? 1, and then you divide that by 2, right? So this is what I mean. So that will be what? 5 minus what? 4, that is equal to 1, then you divide that by 2, so that will be what? 0.5, right? So here I'm having 0.5. Okay, so what are you going to do with the 0.5? So with this 0.5, what are you do? You start with what? The 0.5. Since here is 0, we cannot start from 0, right? So what I do here is that you subtract 0.5 from the 0, but here is already 0. Is that okay? We don't have anybody that is less than 0 yet, right? So for that reason, we are starting from what? 0.5, and then you add that 0.5 to what? The next person, right? The elderly person here. So the small boy here is 0, but because we don't have any 0 age in this way, so we are starting from what? 0.5, right? And then we add a 0.5 to the upper one. So that is how I got 0.5 here. So 0.5 to what? 4.5, and then the next line. Look at the next line. The next line we are having what? 5 to 9 years. So we are going to subtract 0.5 from what? 5. That will give us what? 4.5, and then we add that for 4.5. We add that 0.5 to what? The upper one, right? So you subtract that 0.5 from the small boy, and you add that 0.5 to what? The big boy. So here we are having what? 4.5 to what? 9.5. This is how you have to fill in the gap, right? So this is how simple you find the class boundary. So these are the 2 tools that we need to draw the histogram. So let's look at how to draw the histogram using what? These class boundaries and the frequency for what? This type of distributions. Okay, so this is how you draw your histogram. So how do you do that? You label it down here with what? The class boundaries, right? So these are the ages. Is that okay? Can you see? So these are from what? We are starting from 0.5 to 4.5, and then from 4.5 to 9.5, and 9.5 to what? 40.5, and so on and so forth. They are the class boundaries. The name boundaries means what? They are the edges, so they are not at the middle, right? Can you see that? They are the edges, so boundaries. Okay, so which people will be on this line? So this line will be what? The frequencies, right? This line will be on the frequency, since the class intervals are what? Or the class sizes are the same, right? So we are going to deal with the frequencies and what? The class boundaries. So the frequencies will be on this line. So how do you number? You can see that from the frequency, the smaller number is what? 1, and the biggest among all is what? 13, right? So 13. So here is your choice to on how to do the numbering here. So you just have to make sure that you have all the numbers at the range, right? Within this range, you have all the numbers. In this case, you must have 1 as well as 13 within the range. So how do you number? You have to make sure that your graph, you don't squeeze the graph, right? You don't squeeze. You have to make sure at least it covers almost half or more than half of the entire graph sheet, right? Okay, so here I decided to go for 2, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and so on and so forth. So you can see that within this I have some small space down here, which means that I can get my 1 here, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the biggest among all is 13. So you can see here, of course, I can get 13 somewhere here. Is that okay? So this is how simple you have to do your numbering. Now let's plot. Let's do the plot. Now that we have the players, what I mean by the players here are the class boundaries and what the frequencies at our disposal. We can go on what and do the plotting, right? So what do you plot? So from 0 to what? From 0.5 to 4.5. How many are they? There's only just one person, right? So here is just one person. Is that okay? From here to here is only one person. So here you are. So from 4.5 to what? 9.5, right? 4.5 to 9.5. How many are they? You know, they are 3, right? So let's look at the 3. So this is 2, this is 3. Is that okay? So this is where I'm having what? A bar here. Remember that in histogram there are no spaces in between, right? Okay, then the next one is what? From 9.5 to what? 40.5. 9.5 to 40.5. They are 4, right? So let's look at the 4. So 4 is here. Is that okay? You just need to draw a line and then come down very nicely. This is how you fill in what for the rest of the intervals, right? So this is how simple you draw what your histogram for these distributions. Okay, if you have any question, just comment down below, right? And once again, if you enjoyed the video, you may consider subscribing to the YouTube channel for more content like this. The next part of the question says that we should calculate the assumed mean, right? Using the assumed mean method, we should find the mean range, right? The mean range here means that the average, right? The average of what the ages that we are dealing with, the average, right? Using the assumed mean. You see, your main focus here is that you must know the assumed mean. Who do we call the assumed mean, or what exactly is the assumed mean? So this is a very nice, beautiful picture that I'm having here. So this is what we call the assumed mean, right? Everything is what we call the assumed mean. You must know this thing before you can answer any question that comes under this, right? So it's your duty to know this guy. So you must know this guy. I mean, it says that the mean for the assumed mean method is what? A plus what? Summation of FD divided by what? Summation of N. I will decode everything in just a minute, right? This A stands for what? The assumed mean. And then this is what? The summation notation, right? We call it a sigma. So summation, summing, what are we summing? We are summing F multiplied by what? D, right? The F here is the frequency, and then D, I'll also explain the D in just a few minutes, right? So down here is still the what? The frequency. So we don't know this because from the information we are not giving this, and then we are not giving the D, but we know the frequency, right? The frequency, the summation of the frequency, we know that, and then we know the down here too. So let's locate what? The A, right? So the A stands for what? The assumed mean. How do you get that? So assume it should, in case you are not giving, right? Should, in case you are not giving, all that you have to do is that you find that assumed mean from what? The class midpoint, right? So this is my class midpoint. So how do you get this class midpoint before you determine the assumed mean? If you are giving the assumed mean from the question, then that is okay, right? You are free to go. But if you are not giving, how do you determine that? You determine that from the class midpoint. And then how do you get a class midpoint here? So pay close attention. So to get a class midpoint, we call it X, right? For the group data. So to get a class midpoint, you add these two guys, right? And then you divide that by 2 because the name say midpoint, right? Middle point. Is that okay? So this plus this, that will be 5. And then 0 plus 4, that will be what? 4. And then 4 divided by 2 to give you more 2, right? So that's how I got my 2 here. Right, okay, what about the next one? So 5 plus what? 9, it will be what? 14. 14 divided by 2, that will be what? 7, right? So this is how simple you got what? The class midpoint. So you have to do the same thing for what? All the class intervals. Okay, now how do you get an assumed mean from this one? Look at it. For you to get an assumed mean, if you are not giving, you just need to count how many players are here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? We are having 10, right? So 10, that is what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, what? 10 people. So let's divide that by 2. So you divide it by 2, it will be 5, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that okay? So this will be the 5th one. So we want to share this thing equally. right? If you divide it by 2, that will be 5, 5. You're not getting anybody. So for us to do that, let's count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. Then let's count 4 from all the down. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So 4, 4. This is the first 4. Let me change my pen here. So this is the first 4, and then this is also 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is another first 4. Is that okay? So this is the first 4 here. This is also another first 4. Is that okay? From top to down and then down to top. Can you see? Okay, 4, 4. So we are left with what? These two guys. Is that okay? Out of these two guys, you can pick any for what? You're assuming. Is that okay? So suppose everything here is like 13, then that will be 6, 6. Then the 13 for the middle one will be your assuming. But if you have an even number, in this case, that will be 4, 4. Then we are left with 2 people at the middle. So with these 2 people, you can choose any of them to be what? You're assuming. Is that okay? It can either be what? 22 or 24. Sorry, 22 or 27 for what? You're assuming. Is that okay? Okay, so here I decided to go for what? 27, right? Someone can choose to go for what? 22. There's no problem. It's an assuming. We are assuming, right? Okay, now that we know our A to be what? 27. So how do you get the FD? Okay, of course, you need to get the D first, right? Because F here is what? They are the frequencies, right? The frequencies are already here. That's so 1, 3, 4, and so on and so forth. Okay, so how do you get a D? For you to get a D, this is what you have to use to get a D. D here is what? X minus what? A, right? Now we know X and we know A as well. Is that okay? So our X are what? The class midpoint, and what? The A is what? The assuming. That is what? 27. So D is equal to X minus what? A. So X minus A here will be what? This is X. X what? That is 2 minus A. A is what? 27. Is that okay? So that will be what? 2 minus what? 27. Right? So this will be equal to minus what? 25. Is that okay? Minus 25. Right? So X minus A will give us what? The D. So here, that is how I got what? Minus what? 25 here. What about this line? This line will be 7 minus what? 27. Right? So that will be what? Minus 20. So this is how simple you find what? Your D. D is equal to what? X minus or A. Is that okay? So you have to do the same thing for all the rows. So after solving everything, you get these beautiful numbers over here. Okay, perfect. Now that we know the D, then the definition says that the summation of what? FD, meaning F multiplied by D. We are going to sum everything here, F multiplied by D. We know F, we know D, right? So we need to find FD. FD is what? F times D, right? So the frequency multiplied by what? The D here. So look at what is happening. So you need to do that. So frequency multiplied by D. So frequency for the first line, we are having a frequency to be what? To be what? 1. And multiplied by a D. Our D here is what? Minus 25, right? So line by line, right? Minus 25. So 1 multiplied by what? Minus 25 to give you what? Minus 25. And then the next line is what? 3 multiplied by what? Minus what? 20. That will give you what? Minus what? 60. So this is how you have to fill in for what? The rest of what? The column here, right? So you have to fill in for the rest of what? The members. Okay, after doing that calculation, you should get something like this, right? These beautiful numbers. Okay, now we need the summation of that. The summation of that meaning that we should add everything here, right? So add everything step by step. Just take your time and add everything one by one, right? So when you add everything nicely, you arrive at what? Minus of 165, right? So 165. So our summation for what? FD will be equal to what? 1 minus 165. And then the down here, look at the down here. So summation of F, so meaning the summation of the frequency, you have to add all the frequencies so together. That will be what? That will be what? When you add everything perfectly, you get what? 50. Is that okay? Now that we know A, we know the summation of this thing, and we know this one too, that we are free to go. Is that okay? Now we can find what? The average age of what? The patient that we are dealing with. Okay, how do you do that? We just need to change them, right? We have our A to go 27, and that is assuming and then the summation of FD. So the summation of the FD, we had what? Minus 165, right? And then down here to we are 50, right? When you do a calculation perfectly, you arrive at 27 minus 3.3. That will give you what? 23.7, right? So this is how simple you find out the mean from what? The assumed mean distribution method. Is that okay? So if you are giving the assumed mean, that is fine. So if you are not giving, this is how simple you have to choose what? The assumed mean from what? The class midpoint. Okay, so thank you for watching this.